Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is the language of maths, and we are going to be taking a look at why 0 factorial equals 1. Because it does seem to defy the idea of a factorial, seeing that any number factorial is just that number multiplied down to 1. So I'm going to prove to you guys that 0 factorial equals 1 using two different approaches. Let's start off with the first approach. So we are looking for 0 factorial. We don't know what that is. However, we do know what 1 factorial is and 2 factorial is and so on. So why don't I just start by writing those out, and then hopefully some sort of pattern will emerge. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we start with 1 factorial, which is just 1, 2 factorial, which is 2 times 1, which is just 2, 3 factorial, which equals 3 times 2 times 1, which equals 6, 4 factorial, which equals 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which equals 24. Now remember, the point of all of this, of writing all these expressions out, is to get some sort of pattern. So I'm just going to write one more expression, just to make sure we get the pattern. So 5 factorial equals 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which equals 120. Okay, great. But now, you may be asking yourself, what is the point of all of this? Why are we writing out all these expressions when we're just looking for 0 factorial? So, we're going to try and find some sort of pattern between consecutive factorial numbers that will enable us to find 0 factorial. So I'm going to start off by looking at the relationship between 5 factorial and 4 factorial. So in order to get from 120 to 24, I simply divide by 5. In order to get from 24 to 6, I simply divide by 4. Let's look at the relationship between 3 factorial and 2 factorial. I simply divide by 3. The relationship between 2 factorial and 1 factorial, I simply divide by 2. Okay, great. Hopefully now you'll see a pattern emerging. And the pattern is this. Each time I move down a factorial, I simply divide by 1 less, as I started off by dividing by 5, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2. So now, if I look at the relationship between 1 factorial and 0 factorial, there is absolutely nothing telling me that I shouldn't be dividing by 1, and in fact, everything is telling me that I should be dividing by 1. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And 1 divided by 1 equals 1, which leaves us to our final expression that 0 factorial equals 1. You see, this is what makes maths interesting to me. Maths is an imagined world, but it has a harmonic system of laws that's meaningful. Now let's look at a second approach to prove that 0 factorial equals 1. Now this is going to be more of a formal approach using the definition of a factorial. So I'm going to start off with the definition of x factorial, and that's just x multiplied by x minus 1 all the way down until we get to 1. Now this can be rewritten as x factorial is equal to x multiplied by x minus 1 factorial. And this formula can be rearranged to show that x minus 1 factorial is equal to x factorial divided by x. Now remember, we're looking for 0 factorial. So looking at this expression, we're going to have to sub in x equal to 1 in order to get 0 factorial. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I get 0 factorial is equal to 1 minus 1 factorial, which equals 1 factorial divided by 1, using the above expression. And we know that 1 factorial is just 1, so we get 1 divided by 1, which equals 1. And there it is again, that 0 factorial equals 1.